Okay, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday wrap-up of the markets with myself, Michael Nauss, Chartered Market Technician with StatsEdgeTrading. As always, if you go to StatsEdgeTrading.com, I have a completely free intro to trading course if you're interested in that. And then you can sign up for the email list to have these videos, all of the screenshots for the charts, and the ability to just copy and paste my watch list into trade ideas emailed directly to you. So it's going to be a shorter one today, even though it was an eventful day in the market, because I really want to take some time on the weekend and kind of go through everything and process that. So as always, the weekend videos are usually much longer because we summarize everything from a weekly perspective and take a big step back and say, okay, what actually happened this week? We are seeing some movement after hours, so I'm going to get right into it. Finally, I put out on Twitter, and I think there's a lot of people that are backing me up on this, Bitcoin's moving. So I was, good to hold off and say, hey, I'm not going to buy anything until we break out here. We're having a pretty significant breakdown here in Bitcoin. Now, be interesting to see what happens at these lows right here. We're already putting in a big bounce, but this is not, I'm not interested in getting involved in this right now. Now, if we get some sort of a weak looking bounce or bear flag here, I may take a short, but I'm not interested in kind of getting involved with Bitcoin right now from the long side at all, or even from the short side. When Bitcoin makes giant moves like this, sometimes it's best to kind of hang out and wait for whatever the next move is. Other than that, the only other thing that I was kind of noting is if you look at gold here, it's completely falling apart. We were looking at it at this anchored view app right here. We didn't get any sort of indication saying this thing was going to turn and start pushing higher. It continues to bleed down. But then I looked at silver, and silver's actually holding on pretty well. So I did buy a little silver today using the XAG CFD through my prop firm. Basically, the idea is just relative strength. So if we get a bounce tomorrow in gold, maybe we get a bounce in silver a little bit more, although there's really nothing to kind of show us that. Other than that, if we go to the DXY, which is the currency index, you can see another kind of strong day for currency. So everything denoted in it just looks like that. Now, if we go to cable, so pound dollar, this one's actually holding on better than most. This support here may break, and we may be in for some craziness here, but looks like it's holding and pushing up. However, so we'll definitely keep that in mind when I'm looking at shorter term time frames for this. Now, into the equity market, two charts that I'm going to go over here. First one is the SPY, and I keep looking over here because it's where I have my charts. Right, we were holding on for maybe a bounce in this area. Looks like that didn't occur at all. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to look for any sort of sign on where we may go next, right? We have this low right here. We have these prior highs right here. But for me, it's a kind of a stay away market. We're down a little bit too much for me to be interested shorting here. I'm not just going to buy and hope we're going to bounce. We may bounce, but that's, hope is not a trading strategy. So just staying away from this for now. Making a list of strong names and waiting for those strong names to break out. That's what I do. So I talk about this sometimes, but I've gotten a lot of new viewers, so I'll go over it again. My trading style is pretty simple. I wait for the market to either base or pull back. While it's doing that, I'm making a list over and over again of really strong names that aren't selling off with the market, but they're actually holding up. My theory and the way that I trade is that when the market bounces, at some point the market's always going to bounce. These are the names that the institutions and the large hedge funds and stuff didn't sell. They didn't go after these names. They went after other stuff, which I'm not involved with and don't care in. These are the names that are holding up strong. So as the market pushes up, I'm buying those names on breakouts, or if they've pulled back to an area, I'm waiting for that pullback to bounce. Then from there, as the market moves higher, I'm selling in parts, I'm getting trailed out. And then as we push lower again, I get stopped out of things on trailing stops. So it basically kind of then flows where I raise cash on pullbacks and then I buy things as things are bouncing. It's a pretty trend following simple strategy, right? Look for the pullback, look for some consolidation or something to play off of, look for the bounce, right? It's certainly not rocket science. So I'm making all these lists and I'm watching them very closely. And I may take some trades here or there, but they will be smaller while I wait for this kind of market bounce. I said I'd make this video quick, but it doesn't look like I'm going to. XOP is kind of interesting. So I'm just going the oil, services, energies, metals, all this kind of stuff doing really, really well in this market. So that's a good place to focus. And we have some of that for the list as well. So into the list, again, I'm not going to go over everything. I go over everything that is new on the video. But if you want these lists emailed to you, and again, if you have trade ideas, you can just copy and paste this into trade ideas and boom, there's the list right there with all of the little notes about why. But I will go over everything new. And then again, I've already put all of the stuff that I'm watching over in the email list. Just go to StatsEdgeTrading.com. I don't sell the email list. I don't trade it to anyone or anything like that. It's simply a Substack, right? So just another way for me to contact you guys, like on Twitter or something. SWBI, Smith & Western brands, blah. Just a nice little kind of pullback here, getting really, really tight in this range. This is kind of what I'm looking for. So Smith & Western bands was up today when the market sold off pretty dramatically, and it's really tight in this range. So it means either there was no sellers or the buyers, battled back pretty quickly. So that's one that I am watching really closely going into tomorrow. Now, what else was it? SWBI, is it designer brands, DBIs? Little bit of a slowdown here. I'm running a lot of stuff on this computer. I do have something to show you about trade ideas at the end here. Yeah, DBI is very interesting to me because we initially bought it. I'll redraw this. So we initially bought this way back here, where this acted as support perfectly right here. Got a little good trade out of it, came back, I got stopped out the rest break even, but now it's also setting up as, hey, this thing is holding really high and really tight. It's really interesting at this level. You'll notice, again, I'm adding a lot to the list, and a lot of things are getting removed from the list. So if you're copying the list in day to day, you'll notice that a whole bunch of stuff that fell apart today is out, and I'm adding a bunch of new stuff like NTNX here, where, you can see this kind of ascending triangle going on, held really high and tight with a positive day today. Really strong kind of a look. We have ZUMZ, in which same kind of thing, right? Positive day, up 3%, ZUMZ, holding against this high right here and getting really, really tight. We have Pump, and Pump is a gas type play, so it's a good one to play. And we have a consolidation going here on Pump. Again, a nice positive day. If you're doing your own scanning today, sorting for things that are up on the day, I think is just a really good place to start. This SAH, very interesting. Again, just looking for things that are high up in a trend and getting really, really tight. 16.5% short float on this one. And if you look down here, so this is what we have in trade ideas, which are called picture-in-picture charts. So I've got my main time frame here, and then I got the weekly time frame on the bottom. So I'm always keeping an eye on the longer-term trend. Really strong stock for a new car dealership. Just insanely strong with a pretty high short float. So these are the short float plays that I really, really like the look of. And then we have GRFS, last but not least. This is, I don't know where this flag is, Spain, while we wait for this to load. Something out of Spain. Again, really, really tight after a really strong move, keeping it really simple here and saying, what did okay today? What didn't get murdered today? That's the stuff I want to own. Okay, guys, thank you all for coming by. Again, if you want to know what I'm doing during this market sell-off, this is it.